Welcome to the Buick Outdoors Podcast. I'm your host, Sheldon Marion, and on this podcast, we dive deep into the outdoors. We discuss hunting and fishing techniques, give you tips and tricks, tell stories, and everything in between to help you enjoy the outdoors. Hey everyone, welcome to another Buick Outdoors Podcast. If you're new around here, I'm your host, Sheldon Marion, and before we start today's podcast, I just want to say it is on a fairly sensitive subject. It is on two missing men up here in the Northeast BC region. And I don't want to take away from the severity of it. And, it is missing people. The searches have been called off and they are still out there. And, I just have some questions about one of them. So with that all being said, we're going to kick this off. And please, I'm just kind of spitballing ideas out there. Again, I know that they're human beings. They're loved and they're missed very much. And, again, I'm saying the quiet parts out loud. And I'm just kind of throwing some ideas into the air. But anyways, that being said, I hope you enjoy the podcast. This podcast is brought to you by Northbound Gear. If you've been around here for a while, you have seen that I pretty well exclusively wear Northbound Gear pants, whether it's the Adventure water resistant and cut resistant pants or the waterproof jeans. They're just excellent stand-up gear. They have those pants. They also have some summer pants as well that zip off into shorts. They have jackets, things for men and women, and they also have a bunch of accessories as well. If you want to check those guys out, they're at northboundgear.co. And for you guys listening and watching this, if you use the promo code Sheldon15 at checkout, you'll receive 15% off your order, and that's including the sale items. Also, with Northbound Gear, they partner up with One Tree Planted, so for every purchase, you also plant a tree. So head over to northboundgear.co, check those guys out, use the promo code Sheldon15 to receive 15% off, and get yourself some good gear. So to kick this thing off, there is two missing people. They're in different areas. One is out in Groundbirch. The other is up in Redfern Lake area. The guy up in Redfern Lake, his name is Sam. He's about 20 years old. By the sounds of it, the way everything's kind of playing out, it sounds almost like what you would call like a typical missing persons case. Young guy, lots of experience out in the bush. He went on a 10-day camping trip. He parked his car at the trailhead, and he brought his dirt bike out there with him. Took his bike out. He didn't return back when he was supposed to. They filed a missing persons report. Search and rescue went out there. They checked the area very extensively, and they haven't really found any trace of him. With places like Redfern, there's a lot of mountains in there. I don't know how many trails there are in the area, but there's a lot of places that you can go to. There's quite a few rivers, creeks, tons of mountains, valleys. There's 1,000,001 points of interest. And when I say that, I mean, like, if you're on a trail and you look up a valley and you see, whatever, a mountaintop, that's a point of interest to me. As like a outdoorsman, I would like to know what's on top or what's on the other side, kind of a deal. So as you're out in that type of area, it is really easy to get off trail and to go up one of the drainages or up one of the old creeks or up a different river. So it is kind of a easy place to get lost. And with that search, it has been now called off, and we're getting into November, so I'm sure there's getting to be a bit of snow out there, and you're starting to dip into the colder temperatures. So, I mean, the window of finding him is getting pretty slim, especially now. I think it's been almost a month since he has planned to go out there. I think his initial time frame going out there was like October 10th, I want to say, is when he started a 10-day trip. So, I mean, he's already starting it kind of late in the year. And now that he's missing and they haven't been able to find him, uh, and we're getting into November now, things are kind of looking a little grim. But with that being said, hopefully they're able to find him. If not, uh, I mean, like I said, they called the search off, and I don't know if they're going to be going back in there or not. Everything that I've seen, it said all depending on RCMP investigation, whether or not they're going to go back in or not. As for the second guy, James, he's like a mid 20-year-old guy. Again, it sounds like he has a ton of experience out in the woods. With him, it was himself and his dog that went missing. Uh, it was reported that he was going grouse hunting in the Chetwynd area. Turns out it's not Chetwynd, it's Groundbirch, which on a map it looks fairly close. And driving wise, it is fairly close. Like I've gone longer stretches during a day hunt myself, so I mean, like, uh, it's not out of the ordinary for somebody to say Chetwynd when it's Groundbirch, because it's about an hour away. But I mean, it's nothing for me to drive an hour or two in a day to go check out a different spot too. So that part's not weird. Uh, the weird thing with this is that it's him and his dog Murphy. Uh, his dog, I believe it said it was about an 18-month-old uh, golden retriever. Uh, and it's just, there's so many weird, strange things that are going on with this case. Where he went missing, it's another spot that, like, you could easily kind of get sidetracked and get off trail, kind of a deal. By the sounds of it, he was going grouse hunting, and they ended up finding his vehicle with a rifle, some personal belongings, his keys, and his wallet inside of his truck. Other than that, though, him and his dog were gone. Uh, and this is where I start to kind of question a few things. Just the way my mind works. And again, I don't want to take away from the severity of it. I know that it's a a living soul. It's a human being that's gone missing. There's just a lot of weird, strange things uh, at the scene itself and kind of behind the scenes too. When you start to kind of look into it a little bit. Um, so his girlfriend, he failed to come home. So his girlfriend reported him missing to the Fort St. John RCMP. They went out, they found his vehicle, they found his belongings in the vehicle. They didn't find him, they didn't find the dog. They initiated search and rescue. They came out for quite a few days. There was a dump of snow out there, but then they still brought out the canines, they brought out the helicopters, they brought out the infrared drones. They have scanned the areas, they have flown the areas, they've had search and rescue out doing grid searches, and they haven't found any trace of either one of them, James or his dog. Uh, Now, when it comes to his personal belongings in the vehicle, a lot of people kind of say that that's a red flag. For me, it's not. If he's grouse hunting, if we know what firearm was found, and I say that because when I go on a grouse hunt, in this area that he was is in Groundbirch area, south of Groundbirch, uh, and it's kind of in between where the Murray River and the Pine River is, and Coldbrook Creek. Now, if you're hunting in that area in October, you got whitetail buck is open. I don't think whitetail doe is. You got black bear, it's open. Elk is open, and I think that's about it. And then you got your grouse and your rabbits and stuff. So if it was me that was going hunting in that area, I'd have like my 30-06 or my 300 or the 243, 270, you know, a center fire for a big game animal. And then I would also bring a 22 or a shotgun for chickens and rabbits. Uh, what they found in the vehicle was a firearm. So they didn't really say which one it was. As for the keys, wallet, cell phone being in the truck, again, it's not a big surprise if I'm out hunting chickens and I shoot a chicken in the ditch, or I see one fly off into the trees and I grab my 22 and I walk out into the woods to go after that chicken. A lot of time the truck is still running, so the keys are in the ignition, wallet's in there, my dogs are in there. Once in a while, I'll let the dogs out, kind of a deal. And my cell phone's in there because I'm just going into the tree line to grab the chicken or chase one down or whatever, and then I'm getting out of there. Uh, with that being said, if they said a 308 was found in his vehicle, then I would be under the assumption that he's seen a chicken, him and his dog got out with a 22 or a shotgun, went out into the trees, somehow got lost, and they got lost going after a grouse. If they said a 22 was found in there, it would be kind of strange to me to think that you left all that stuff in the truck while you went out to pick like chaga or something like that, because you would think that you would at least take like your keys with you, cell phone and wallet. It's whatever, you're out in the boonies, out in the bush. You're not gonna pack all this stuff with you. Like, it's not strange to me, whatever. But the fact that they found all these personal belongings in the truck on the side of the road, it's just, I don't know. It's so strange to me. Uh, there was somebody out there that said that they seen him trying to like coax his dog back into the truck. And then I want to say it was a few kilometers down the road is where search and rescue found his vehicle. So whatever, the dog at some point in time was out of the truck. He, seen somebody driving by. He waved at him. He smiled at him. Obviously, he got his dog back into the truck, drove down the road, and then got back out for whatever reason. But then for him to just disappear from the road, it's it I don't this is where I'm going to get myself into trouble, because there's some things that kind of raise some red flag. Well, not red flags, but I got some questions. Like, what was left, like, specifically in the vehicle. Also, when it comes to the search and rescue things, typically people put out maps. They put out pinpoints. They say this is exactly where the truck was found. Last point of known location. There's not really any of that. They say it was on the Groundbirch FSR off the 269 road, not at kilometer 20. it was just a very vague description. Uh, and then also the wording behind a lot of things, everything is, kind of referred to RCMP investigation, not search and rescue efforts. Everything is, you know, ongoing RCMP investigation. What that means, I don't know. I mean, uh, that alone, like that's a whole other topic, I guess. But when you look at things like when the girlfriend initially, uh, she made a couple of Facebook posts about it. And again, like, I don't want to be like judgmental. It just seems strange that the severity in the post and like not not commenting on anything, it just seems kind of strange too. Like, I don't know, maybe they had a fight or something. Again, I'm saying the quiet parts out loud. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas out there, and I don't mean to take away from anything. Like, you know, I just have questions, and I'm genuinely just kind of curious as to what has happened that led up to his disappearance and why there's been no traces of him. Uh, and the way that some people have been acting. You know, there's been a couple of one GoFundMe account set up uh, for whatever reason. Um, I mean, if somebody goes missing, I don't know. Whatever. There was a GoFundMe account set up for the girlfriend. Uh, Nothing was really said too much about it. I heard that there's a lot of money raised up for it, like over $10,000. Uh, Even the girlfriend's missing persons post, there's, the typical usual thing, everybody's flooding with messages and stuff. I get it, you get overwhelmed. But then she keeps sharing the updates without saying anything about it. Like, she's not, I don't know. The way that uh, we live in a weird time with like Facebook being a big talking point, but it's a way of life now. People overshare everything, and it's just the way that her language is on those posts and stuff, and the way that she's not interacting with people. Which, again, I get it. Some, like, with a lot of this stuff, you would just cut off a lot of the BS and you just want to be left alone. However, they're still sharing some of the updates without saying anything about it. Uh, they're back to posting random pictures and tagging people. There's been no. I mean, like, if I was missing, Shelby wouldn't shut up about it, kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Uh, there would be at least some sort of like a sappy, can't sleep at night, worried sick, something along those lines, kind of thing. And again, the way I say things, I sound way more rude than I mean to. It's just the way that I am. I'm terrible with my own language, but you know what I mean. Like, there would be something about, you know I miss him. I whatever, and there just doesn't seem to be any of that. I mean, like, we're looking at some of the posts, and I'm sorry I'm talking so negative about the girlfriend. I don't mean to. I'm just genuinely curious, and I don't mean to put the spotlight on her, even though I am. Uh, I don't know. Again, I'm just having a kind of an open, one-sided conversation, and it's sounding incredibly rude. And I'm not trying to put the blame on her or anything like that. I'm just, kind of talking out loud, like I keep saying. But there's a bunch of pictures of her and her dog and stuff like that, and there's nothing about her missing her dog or her missing her boyfriend who's missing in the woods, and it's snowing, getting cold at night. It just seems kind of weird and strange. I don't know. It just something is not quite adding up. And then the way that he just kind of walked away from his truck as well seems very strange. Like if if I was gonna go into the woods after a chicken, I would leave my stuff behind. I would leave a rifle behind. May or may not leave my dog behind. In this case, say I did bring Rocky or Texas with me into the bush to grab a chicken, and then, I mean, if that's the case though, usually you don't get that far. Like maybe 100 yards into the trees before you go, well, you know what, that chicken's gone, and you turn around and you come back. So from the truck, 100 yard radius, that would be about where you would be if you're going after chicken. So if you were to stumble and get hurt, break it, whatever, some weird freak accident where you broke both your legs, you're within like 100 yards ish. Maybe for him, he was stretched out to 200 yards before calling it quits. But you're fairly close to the vehicle, and it would be pretty hard not to know how to get back to your vehicle from where you went in at. So with that one, it doesn't really make too much sense. If he went in and he ran upon a grizzly or a cougar or a black bear and they got attacked, I mean, it's not like it could happen, but if that's the case, when search and rescue went out there, especially with canine units, you would think you would find traces of an attack somewhere. Scraps of clothes, tufts of hair, especially with his dog involved. Uh, it wouldn't, if you ran upon a cougar or something like that, uh, I mean, like, there would have been some sort of a fight between one of them and whichever predator it is, and there would be evidence of that even after a snow. I mean, we did get a good dump of snow, but then after a couple of days, it all kind of melted and went away, which is not good for scents and stuff. But with that being said, if they were just again going in after like a chicken that was right there, or a rabbit or whatever, it would be within that, you know, fairly close by radius. Like you wouldn't have to go that far from the truck to find that evidence. Um, Now, if you think that he was going to take his dog out and go after a big game animal and leave all of his stuff behind, again, maybe, but you would think he would take his keys with him. Uh, like it again, if they found a 22 in the truck or a shotgun, and he brought his, centerfire rifle out and left the other stuff behind, that's not quite out of the ordinary. It would be kind of strange to go into a spot without, like, I don't know. I leave my hunting bag behind quite a bit too. But you would think you would at least lock your truck doors with your gun in it and then take your keys with you. Again, that's what I would do if I was in that area and I was going after, say, you seen a deer run across the road or whatever. But then with that being said, it doesn't seem likely that that would happen because he brought his dog with him. So like going after a big game animal, eh, I don't I don't quite believe that one. Uh, and then again, if he was stopping at a spot where, say, there's some chaga or some diamond willow, you want to go and look for some diamond willow fungus or chaga mushrooms, or I don't know, maybe there's a bunch of standing at Poplar, and he's gonna go after some oyster mushrooms because I know it sounded like he was an avid outdoorsman who was into mushrooms and everything like that. So again, that is possible. And with that being said, is it is it strange that you would leave a gun behind with your keys and your wallet and your phone? It's a little bit strange, but if you're a very trustworthy person, it's not out of the realm of possibility. If you're a person that goes, don't worry about it, nobody's gonna steal my stuff, it'll be fine and safe out here. It's not exactly, it wouldn't be strange to leave your stuff behind if you're going into the woods to go for a quick little walkabout to see if you can find some mushrooms. But again, with that being said, the radius of how far you would go with that stuff being left in your truck is where it's kind of strange. If he took his bag with him and his keys, it'd be a little bit different. That would that would widen the radius, I would say, to like maybe 5 kilometers, because it looks like he was a fairly fit guy. But again, he left all of his personal stuff and his backpack and his GPS in the truck, so it's like when he got out to go, he wasn't planning on going very far away from the vehicle. But then that's where, after that, it's where things get a little strange. Because from roughly where they found his truck, again, they didn't say like exactly where it was, or at least I didn't see it, anyways, on any of the posts and stuff. And I've been trying to find info. But they found a boot print that matched his and a dog track along the East Pine River. Now, if you look at a map, supposedly where they found his truck, he is fairly close to the Murray River. And then from the Murray to the Pine, it's roughly about 7 kilometers. But you have to hike down some pretty steep banks to get to the Murray to start with. And again, if the guy supposedly there, he knows the area too. So even if he kind of got turned around or whatever and said, you know what, the hell with it, I'm in good shape. I can just walk down to the Murray, go to the Pine, walk up the hill to the highway or to the sand pit, and then I can just backtrack and we'll be kind of okay. Or maybe I can catch a ride or whatever. Because it's about 7 kilometers to where the Murray flows into the Pine, again, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. Especially if he got kind of sidetracked or whatever, or his dog just kept running, and instead of him going back to the truck and grabbing his stuff, he just kept following his dog, and they made it down to the river. It makes sense. But then, with the track being at the Pine, depending on where they found it, because they didn't say, again, they didn't say where they found it. It was just on the Pine River. So where the Murray flows into the Pine, you can see it from the bridge on the highway. You can see the Murray River pretty well flowing in. If they found tracks right there, it's no brainer. He made it to the highway. But they don't tell you where the tracks were. It was just on the East Pine somewhere. And if he knows the area, and maybe somebody said East Pine and they meant Murray, again, it's only 7 kilometers to the Pine. So, for a guy who's in good shape, it's easy enough just to make your way to the Pine River, climb up the hill to the pullout, and you're on the highway. And like 1,000 people drive through there every day. Like somebody would have seen him on the river. Also in the area is Cold Brook Creek. And that's between the Murray and the Pine. It kind of comes up, flows this way. And where his truck was found was kind of in here between Colebrook and the Murray. Uh, and again, if he knows the area and he gets on to Colebrook, he'll be able to follow that to where it flows into the Murray, and then from there go to the Pine, and then up the hill. So it seems strange, especially when search and rescues come out. They haven't found traces of him. They haven't found traces of the dog. If they were within 5 kilometers of where his truck was, you would think with the helicopters flying overhead doing the grid searches with the infrared, they would have found heat traces of one or the other, either him or the dog. I know when I was a part of the search out in Blueberry, when they were flying the helicopter around the infrared, they were seeing all sorts of animals. There was deer, bear, moose. Like they said, like they could see a lot of stuff. So I mean, out in Groundbirch area, it's relatively the same type of terrain. So I mean, like, I don't know. Even if the guy would have got himself hurt and the dog just laid down beside him, you would think as they're searching in that area, the dog would have barked or they would have seen it with infrared or something along that lines. So that part's kind of weird and strange. Uh, but like the way that it has been playing out, like I again, me saying the quiet stuff out loud, to me it almost seems like it's a person that isn't exactly missing. It's a person who walked away. And I say that very cautiously. It's just me thinking out loud, and it's me just thinking of all the possibilities out there. This is just one of the possibilities. And in my opinion, it's probably one of the best possibilities because he's just possibly living his life out in the woods for a bit, just to kind of disappear and get away from everything. Because the way his truck was left, I mean, who was that famous guy who hiked out into Alaska there into the bus? He kind of did the same thing almost, where he just like had enough of life and just walked away. He just went, "I'm going to Alaska." This might be somewhat similar, where it was, "I'm just going to the Murray River," and supposedly he knows the area. He worked in the area. He spent a bit of time out there, from what I've been told. I mean, in my mind, it wouldn't, especially right now, how the world is kind of going. It's not outside of the realm of possibilities that the guy just had enough of life and just wants to disappear for a bit. And, leaving your truck behind and taking your dog and just leaving all your personal stuff behind, like, it's something that I would do if I want to disappear. Find a nice remote place along a river with good hunting, good fishing, a clean water source, thick enough that you can disappear and hide out. And I mean, they said they found a backpack. Well, I can take 2, 3 backpacks with me, as long as if I was gonna disappear, I would load up my big hiking bag with like my hot tent, collapsible stove, one of my guns, probably the 30-06 or the 300 or whatever, you know, some backpackers food until you get your own supply of meat, kind of a thing. My little mini pocket rocket cook stove, couple things of fuel, and like I could literally just park my truck somewhere like he did, leave a couple things behind, just throw in my bag, grab my hunting rifle, grab my dog, and walk off. And like I'm telling you, like if I had enough of life and I just wanted to go be like a trapper for the winter, what is kind of going on right now with this case is exactly what I would do to disappear. I would gather up my belongings, I would get my dog, I would find a remote place, and I would walk away. And that's kind of almost what it seems like is going on with this. And again, like, I'm not trying to say he's not a missing person. I'm just kind of spitballing ideas as to what some of the possible outcomes could be. And, right now we haven't had that cold of weather. We've had maybe a couple of -10 nights. But if you have something like an ultralight tent and an ultralight like hot tent and like the collapsible stove that I have, -10 is very easily doable. Up until about -20, maybe 25, that's when it starts to get a little more difficult. -25 and -30, that's when you start to get challenging. And then below that is like not quite impossible, but you're not going to sleep while you're trying to stay warm, kind of a thing. It. I'm not saying it's not doable, but it's going to be pretty hard. Uh, but with that being said, I think our coldest night so far has been like -10, -11, kind of a thing. So if you're in one of these small little lightweight hot tents with collapsible stove, not only are they're lightweight, you can pack them forever. Same with like a down sleeping bag, you can get a -41 that packs up extremely small nowadays. Uh, you know, the footprint of these tents are small. If you know somebody's going to be searching for you, you can get underneath a real thick canopy. You can unpitch them real quick. You can collapse everything down. You can legitimately hide, especially if you're an avid outdoorsman. It's like if you know what they're looking for, you pretty well know how to hide from it almost. They do a grid search pattern. They go from the ground and they go from the air. Uh, and for a guy who's kind of fit enough, it's nothing to walk, say, 20 kilometers in the bush. So if he parked his truck over here on the Groundbirch Road and he walked down to the Murray, and the Murray is very low right now, you could walk across the Murray and just keep heading west. And you could go uh, for miles. Or maybe he's going south towards Tumbler Ridge area. If you're walking along a riverbank and it's easy walking, for a guy who's in good shape to walk 20 kilometers, it's it's not that hard. So like I don't know, there's so many questions I have with this case, and again, like, I don't mean to take away from it. I know he's a human being. I know he has loved ones, and I don't mean to come off as like, don't worry about it, he's not missing. I, again, I'm just trying to have a conversation about what could have happened. And like, I'm really rooting that both these guys are found. But this one here, again, the search has been called off. They've had extensive searches out there. The only trace that they found of him has been a boot print and a dog track on the East Pine River. Other than that, I mean, like, there's nothing. And again, like, if he was able to make it to the East Pine River, I mean, to me, he knows where he's at. Even if he doesn't, I mean, it takes quite a bit to get to the point of being paranoid, not thinking straight, and you're getting all turned around and twisted and lost. But for a guy that is a extremely avid outdoorsman who is, you know, done a bunch of gold panning, pretty well a guy who's like me, except in much better shape. You know, it seems like he's into uh, mushrooms, gold panning, hunting, fishing. You know, he's just a dude like me, just a overall general outdoorsman who I don't know. I don't know. It's just the way that everything is working out and the things that are going on behind the scenes, and you know, it sounds weird, but you know, everybody kind of does like the Facebook stalking, not stalking, but you start to look through different people's Facebook profiles, and you're just trying to get like information. Like I was looking at other people's profiles, trying to find updates and trying to find a map, and just trying to find out like where he actually went in at, and where they found this track or where they found his vehicle, and like to find a map where there's an actual pin in it, like right here. Because like if I was missing and somebody didn't share that info, I'd be pretty mad at them, and like I'd probably kick in the nuts if I got rescued and I said, "Hey, why didn't you share this to help get me found?" You know what I mean? So like there's a lot of weird strange things going on with this one, and now search and rescue, they're also not able to give updates supposedly because it is part of a RCMP investigation. Uh, so it's just it's just weird. But I mean, even with that being said, if the RCMP said, "Hey, don't give updates on where we're finding this stuff because we're investigating it," I can guarantee you, people like Shelby, my brother, my sister-in-law, my dad, my mom, they would all kindly and firmly tell them to go F themselves, and there would be maps, pins, directions, everything would be up online for everybody to see, and they'd be like, "Let's go find him. This is weird for him to be gone and missing, and you know, something out of the ordinary is going on here." You know, there would be a wave of shit if I were to be the one that went missing and everybody was trying to be silenced. Like it would not fly. You would think the same thing would happen with this case. Uh, so yeah, like I keep saying, I'm saying the quiet parts out loud. I'm saying the stuff that maybe some of us are thinking, or maybe they haven't thought about up until now. I don't know, and I I don't mean to speculate, and I don't mean to spread any sort of rumor at all. This isn't a rumor. This isn't, you know, what I heard is what happened. It's none of that. It's just me thinking out loud as to essentially what I would do if, you know, I had a fallout with a friend or a girlfriend, or I had enough of life, I couldn't afford something, or I just wanted to go trapping for the winter. I would do pretty well what he has done in a way, you know. So like, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm rambling on now, and I hope you guys kind of understand where I'm coming from. Where I'm trying to be sensitive about it. Like he is a living, breathing person. He is genuinely missed, and he is missing, and his dog is missing, and his dog is missed. You know, again, I'm just kind of spitballing ideas. So please try not to hate me too much over this one. And yeah, if you guys have any info or whatever, pass it along to the RCMP, whether it's Chetwynd RCMP or the Fort St. John RCMP. Any dash cam footage of the area, and also if you look up some of the info there, I can maybe put up a link or something like that to the RCMP file that's open on both these guys, and see if somehow we can try to help bring them home. But yeah, I think that's all for this one before I get myself into even more trouble and get even more hatred over this. But yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring my thoughts or say my thoughts out loud almost, and see what you guys had to say. And yeah, try not to chew me up too much on this. Alright, you guys, we're out here. See you on the next one.